So I'm Adam Pennington, part of the attack team and also coordinating bingo and lightning talks. So I wanted to start off technical session this morning with something to try to get people's blood pumping a little bit. We put out a call just a couple weeks ago for people to give us pithy, short 5-minute, 0 to 3 slide talks that were on either work in progress, something that was half baked. We even told people they could give us a 5-minute rant on everything we were doing wrong with attack, but no one took us up on it. So what we have instead are talks you'll be seeing in a few minutes. We're going to run these back to back, so no time for questions. All the speakers are actually attendees at the conference, though, so plenty of opportunity to catch them as they're out and about. Got the handheld mic ready to go. And so without further ado, I'm going to have our most interesting interpretation of 0 to 3 slides, Paul Ewing and Ross Wolf of Endgame.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Awesome. I'm going to start a stopwatch as well. So we did have a very different interpretation. So we tried to convert a video into slides. So you guys better be ready for a montage of slideware. Okay, so I'm Paul. This is Ross. We're going to give you a practical guide of taking an attack technique and then actually try to parlay that into a detection. So at Endgame, we're no different than the theme of the conference so far. If you can incorporate attack, you're really going to transform the way you do things. But the thing to keep in mind is it's not as trivial as you may think to take a technique and turn that into a detection. In fact, we made this kind of fun, almost graph to show what it's like to groom a detection. So, I like to think of this as an example where, say you're looking for a scheduled task, turns out you have a group policy script that's a scheduled task, okay, tons of false positives, and then you start finding some applications in your environment that cause more false positives. Then you fine-tune your rule too much, and you do too many things, you miss out on stuff, and eventually you get to a point where you can profit. So we're gonna walk through some of this right now.
Cool, so let's say you've done some gap analysis and you've decided, all right, the next technique I want to detect is bypass UAC. So yeah, this counts for bingo, I think. So you pick your technique, you go to attack. This is, I guess, attack-old.miter.org. And you might read up on it and realize, okay, bypass UAC actually has a lot of flavors, a lot of different ways you can do it. So maybe you Google, you look around, you pick one, and you see that, okay, well, I actually want to detonate this technique since I want to detect it. I want to know what it looks like. And there's this blog post I found that just says, run these 2 commands in an unelevated shell, and it will give you an elevated shell. So at the top, you see the unelevated shell. The 2 commands I pasted, and then it successfully ran the task. And then at the bottom, we've got like an elevated shell. Cool, it worked. And then once we're here, we actually want to leave a trail for ourselves to actually start walking up and figure out the process tree of where we are. So we can run a command. And then the next step would be start searching for it. So we've got some helpful PowerShell scripts you can use to grab sysmon logs out. I'm not going to read these. And so for bypass UEC, the most useful piece of telemetry, I would say, just from looking at this and this technique in particular, is command line monitoring. So we run the script and say, all right, give me the most recent process executions. And so now we've got process executions. We want to search them and figure out where our command was. And so we left a token for us to find, just called find me. And so we search find me in the command line, and we get the process where we were. And it's running elevated, so we can see that from the integrity level. There's also this field called parent process GUID. So we can walk up the tree, the process tree, see the parent, and the parent looks kind of weird because it actually matches the command we ran earlier. So, okay, this is noteworthy. And we run up one step further and realize this parent is actually legitimate Windows running, and we can look up that service and see, oh, it's just the task scheduler. Okay, that's too far. So we kind of think we know where we ended and what we want to look for. So the next step would be, how do we take that knowledge and turn that into a useful analytic? So now we can refine the command line and say, okay, find me anything that has this substring. How does that work? Okay, we found what we did. We did it earlier, we found that too. Oh, well, shoot, the thing ran legitimately. This is totally benign. This is just Windows. We don't want to detect this. So we refine our query and we say, okay, now find one that matches this but not that. And we get a hit, and we get our other hit from testing the technique a second time. and that was it. So we've got some prototype. The next step would be for us to actually take that, leave Windows at that point, because now we actually need to test it maybe on real endpoints with our sim, whatever that happens to be. And so we would translate this to equal, which is the language we use. So this would be just like the one-liner for this rule. Here's what this would look like. So like look for this clean manager with an extra space in the beginning. And then we just search all of our endpoints. How are we doing with this? Because we're still refining the analytic, and we see 24 hits. So it's not quite right, and so we can tune this. We find that, oh, this is just legitimate Windows. Let me adjust my query, rip that out. Now we have no hits. At this point, we've got like a decent detection.
Yeah, so I guess in like the final seconds here, so pretty incredible, we actually got it through in 5 minutes, but so we're not saying anything earth-shattering by ignoring a parent process is going to fine-tune your rules in every case. We're not trying to share that. We're just trying to share the actual process. So if I had more time, I'd rain on some of these, but just to pick one out of just unique things, the second one is always kind of fun, where say you're trying to look for a malicious link, and so you said, oh, I want to know about a browser launched from Outlook that then dropped a PowerShell script. Makes perfect sense. But I'll tell you what users do is when they read their email first thing in the morning, they click that legitimate link, they open up a browser, and then, oh, see, look at that, perfect timing. But they open up a browser, and then they do their normal business, and then eventually they do something that triggers your analytic, which you've now associated with Outlook. So again, you have to use temporal analysis and really think about your analytics. But anyway, thanks for your time. Happy to talk more about this.